It's not just about the weight loss. If it were just about the weight loss, it would be so much easier. For me, it was about taking those demons to task and just sending them packing. It was about rediscovering my love of taking care of my body for me, not to please someone else. It was about looking into the future and figuring out who I actually wanted to be, and then taking the steps to become that woman. Hello and welcome to the Core Podcast. We're your hosts, Aline Keller
and Shannon Polson.
I'm a precision nutrition certified coach.
And I'm a NASM certified personal trainer for over 13 years. We support women 30 years old and over to pursue health through realistic nutrition and fitness strategies. Our main passion is to help you find that smile when you look in the mirror, find freedom when you eat, and joy when moving your body.
Make sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of doable health tips, practical advice, and so much more. It's the health education you wish you'd had.
How to achieve your goals when you don't really have anyone supporting you?
I think we've all been there at one point or another, and some goal in our life. You have something that you want to reach and you don't have the support. You don't have people doing it with you. So it sucks.
Straight up.
Right? Yeah, there's no two ways around it. Sometimes you have a goal, you want to get healthier, you want to lose weight, you want to get stronger, you want to eat better, whatever it is, and you feel alone. If you have at least one person in your corner doing this with you, I mean, that's amazing. But the truth is that while we usually have people that want this for us, people that cheer us on, we rarely have people walking the walk with us. And that can be really, really hard, especially if the people are very close to you, your spouse, your partner, your kids, your parents, your best friends, your coworkers. The people that we see every day, they directly influence the actions we take, and making change when these people are not on board is just not easy. Now, I know I sound dire, but you're listening, you know this already, so there's no use sugarcoating this for you. However, a lack of support is not the same thing as the inability to achieve something. So let me give you a little background before I dive in. So I'm going to backtrack and tell you where I'm coming from. So I've been there and I still live this every day of my life. The people close to me are not and have never been in the same lane as I am when it comes to health. In my late teens, I fell in love with the weight room. I loved being at the gym. I loved how it made me feel. My family, not so much. They were like, this is a chore. I'll go only if I have to. Like, what's the bare minimum that I can do? And this was something that I really enjoyed. And I was alone in that. I later ended up in a toxic relationship that completely turned me off from fitness and health. I had daily pressure to look a certain way, to have a certain amount of body fat, to dress a certain way. But there was no companionship in the process. This wasn't something that he really enjoyed and that he did and that he put pressure on me. No, it was all on me. I had to do this. He didn't do it at all. And after that relationship ended, I just let go of all of this. Like, taking care of my body in my head was associated with never being enough to please my partner. So when I met my husband, I was riding those early 20 unicorn years where work and social life just burned the calories from the crappy way you eat. And since exercise was banned in my mind, I was still in that place where that was a tool to fit into a mold that someone wanted for me. And after getting married, life started to change, because it usually does. Your work changes, your social life changes, maybe you start a family. And I had more discretionary income for food as well. And I still carried that belief that doing anything to take care of myself would mean that I was giving in to what someone else wanted me to be, even though that relationship was long gone. So I'm going to do a little very brief side note on toxic and abusive relationships. Sometimes the demons that are planted during that time are so strong that they take a world of effort for you to overcome. It's hard. And I had kids. We moved from Brazil to Canada. And through this whole process, my weight just kept going up and up and up. And not because I didn't do anything. I tried. Hey, I did Beachbody. I did Weight Watchers. I did cleanses. I did detoxes. I did every diet in the book. Like I've tried. I mean, I've never been vegan or vegetarian. Other than that, I've tried most diets. And it wasn't just my physical body that wasn't healthy. My anxiety was rampant. My mental health was suffering. I had a toxic relationship with the scale. I had a toxic relationship with the mirror. And my family was taking the brunt of it. It was not a pretty picture until I finally reached a point where I said enough was enough. And I began the painstaking process of getting healthy, of finding myself again. And that's a story for a different post. But for now, I will tell you that it was lonely as all out. In my case, as with most people I talked to and worked with, it's not just about the weight loss. If it were just about the weight loss, it would be so much easier. For me, it was about taking those demons to task and just sending them packing. It was about rediscovering my love of taking care of my body for me, not to please someone else. It was about looking into the future and figuring out who I actually wanted to be and then taking the steps to become that woman. And this was hard in an environment where I was not pressured. I had cheerleaders, but I was doing this by myself. And here's my point. I had those cheerleaders in support. I had people that believed in me and wanted me to succeed, but I didn't have someone doing it with me. And lots of times we say, I'll start if I can find a buddy, if I can find someone to do it with me. That's not the reality for most people. Every meal I ate was an individual choice, regardless of what everyone else was having. And more often than not, it still is that way to this day. Every single walk, every workout, every early wake up to hit the gym, that was all on my own. There was no one to meet me at the gym, no one to call me to motivate me. Every single session was done on my own drive. Every time I journaled, every time I made a goal, every time I said a prayer, every time I meditated, read my Bible, read a book, took a class, earned a certificate, you name it, it was on my own. There was no one to do it together. And where I had the most success is where I had a coach or a counselor, someone who had been where I'd been and showed me where I could go. Shannon talked about this last week. Having someone that's 10 steps ahead of you doesn't have to be someone who is a universal way that you don't think you're going to reach. It's someone that's a little bit ahead of you, because without them, honestly, in lots of areas, I wouldn't have moved at all. Cheering, support, wanting the best for you, these are all important. But if you don't have someone that can show you the next few steps, it's just so much harder. If you don't have someone that will say, let's go when you don't want to, and vice versa, you have to rely on yourself. And that's really hard. So having these mentors and coaches, it makes the walk less lonely, not because they're there for every meal, prayer, workout, decision, but because they show you what the future can look like. And that keeps you moving in the right direction. So looking back, I'm really proud of my journey. I started this personal journey over 5 years ago. And the person I was, honestly, couldn't even imagine she would be who I have become. So after all of this, what's my suggestion if you're where I was? What worked for me that could possibly work for you? So let's get to it. Number one is to own your life. This was my game changer. Before I ever knew what to do, before I found a single coach, I had to look in the mirror and I had to own that this is my life. This is my body. This is my health. And while I can't control a single outcome, I can't control the result, I can't control what my body actually does, I can control what I do to my body. And that was the beginning of actual lasting change, because the truth is, if I don't take responsibility for my life, no one else is going to do it. And there are two quotes that really drove me through the early stages and that still drive me years later. And this is the first one. We don't drift into good directions. We discipline and prioritize ourselves there. So I'll say it again. We don't drift into good directions, meaning that getting where you want to go, it's not an accident. You have to have the discipline and the priorities to get where you want to be. So the first one was own your life. And the second one is to make a plan, which is arguably the hardest part of all. What are you going to do? Especially in cases like mine. And honestly, most of the people I talk to, that's the case. You don't have just one thing to tackle. You have different areas that you need to work on as a human. I had several things to work on. My spiritual life was a mess. I was very overweight. My anxiety was rampant. My body was performing super poorly. My relationships were suffering. My work was lackluster. Like, there wasn't a single area in my life that I felt like I was winning, or at least moving in the right direction. So where do you start? It can get really overwhelming. What I did to make my plan was I sat down and I wrote who I wanted to be, what I wanted to change inside and out. What was my win for everything that I felt that I was an absolute loser? What was my win? And from there, I had to choose, what do I want to do first, and prioritize it. Now, personally, I started with my physical health, nutrition and exercise, my spiritual health, and my relationships. And this took coaches, this took trainings, this took courses, this was, I put in a lot into it. And as I became stronger in these areas, then I started adding in other aspects, because like I said, it was an overhaul. People that knew me before, I'm not the same person when they see me again. This was a big, big overhaul. And I'm not saying that I'm done, because I'm really not done. It's been over 5 years, and only now am I starting on some of those goals that I wrote way back when. But I had to start somewhere. And that somewhere, we've talked about this before in creating goals. Starting somewhere needs to be specific. It can't be, I'm going to change everything. No, you have to choose. What am I going to work on now? And once you get that ball rolling, you're going to know when you can add another thing to your plate. You're going to know when you've reached a point where you can add more. So number 3 is to find a mentor. Now, this was life-changing and heartbreaking for me at the same time. Finding coaches, teachers, counselors to work with, it skyrocketed my progress. But at the same time, there were areas where I never found them, and there are areas that I'm still searching for them. So this isn't something that you're necessarily going to have someone to have those 10 steps ahead of you in every single area that you need to work on. But for the areas you can find them, grab onto them. And lots of times, these are coaches that can help you in more than one area. So when Shannon works with someone on their physical health and on their exercise, so much goes into that. You know, sometimes we joke, and I've heard so many people say that, you know, going to the hairstylist is like a therapy session. That's the same with our work. When I work with my clients on nutrition, so much goes into, why are you eating what you're eating? Why do you like what you like? What, when you look at food, what does it make you feel? Like, so many things. When you eat out, why do you make your choices? So when you find someone to help you in this process, it's going to dip into other areas. So, you know, I cannot stress enough the importance of finding someone to hold hands with. In areas where you find this, it makes the entire process easier. Now, this is going to look different for different things. Maybe you're hiring a trainer, maybe you're taking a class, maybe you go see a therapist, you hire a coach, you invest in courses and training. Different goals are going to need different support. But the point is that finding support, working with someone who can look ahead of where you are, makes all the difference in the world. And that leads me to number 4, which is be comfortable with discomfort. And this is a big one. We can't, and Shannon is nodding her head. You can't see it. We'll have the podcast and video one day.
Oh, yes.
We can't change if we're not uncomfortable. There's going to be tension. There will be tears. There will be frustration. There will be slips, mistakes, plateaus, dives, mountaintops, hardships, pain, joy, celebration, anger, pride. You will run the gamut, but be comfortable with discomfort. Understand that to change, you simply, absolutely cannot stay where you are comfortable. Now, my practical suggestion for this, Shannon's going to love, lift weights. Okay. There is something, and it's incredibly empowering. I don't care if you want to build muscle or not. There is something incredibly empowering when you see your body doing something difficult and uncomfortable and getting better at it and pushing through and getting through the soreness and becoming better. lifting 8 pounds and then 10, and one day you've kept going and you're at 15 and you're at 20 and you're like, damn, I'm getting better, like I'm strong. Listen, weights don't lie. You either lift them or you don't. So there is something life-changing about seeing your body progress in this way that spills into other things. Yep.
And it gives you permission to that you can change. I mean,
Yes.
it's a good reminder that, you know what? I went from 8 pounds to 10, 10 to 12. I've changed. I can do this. It kind of gives
Yes.
you that momentum to keep going forward. And you know what? Maybe life happens, whatever, you have to take a week off and now you've regressed back to that 10 or 8 pounds. That's okay. But you can remind yourself that you've done it once before. It's going to be uncomfortable again, but you can do it again. And this can go into all areas of your life as well. But yeah,
Yes.
get extremely uncomfortable. 100%. I love that is your number 4 tip, because it's just, we love to be comfy.
Yes.
We're critters that don't like change. We're habitual. But in order to evolve and to get better, you need to get comfortable with change. I like that.
Exactly. And it spills into nutrition, understanding
Hmm.
yet that you can do the hard things. You can make choices that seem so hard right now, but one day it's going to be easy. It spills into your discipline, knowing that right now, taking that step, saying that yes, saying that no, making that decision, it's so big. But one day it's just going to be what you do.
And it's going one day at a time too.
Yes.
Sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 1 minute, sometimes one meal, one workout. Breakfast wasn't so hot. You ate a muffin, whatever. Move forward, move on. Try and make lunch a little bit better. And then even into dinner, now we're adding a little bit more color on our plate. Same with your workout. Yesterday's workout was only 15 minutes. I only got in a few stretches, but I did something. Now today, I'm going to get in 10 minutes more. So just try and be a little bit better than what you were. But if you regress, that's also okay. But just take it one step at a time. I know it's hard because we have all these long-term goals that you want. And it kind of goes back to you just writing down what you want to be in 5, 10 years. That's a great place to start. But then just taking it one step at a time.
Absolutely. And it's the small steps that add up.
Mm-hmm.
So, just be uncomfortable, sit with the tension, don't resolve it, don't make everything nice and cozy. Cry, scream, dance, sing, whatever you need to do to
Mm-hmm.
power through it. Just keep going. And P.T. Barnum said it best: comfort is the enemy of progress. Now, that leads me to the last suggestion that I have, is to make the investment. And I'm not talking about money. This is the second quote that I carry very close to my heart. Giving up something you want now for what you want most is not a sacrifice. It's an investment. This is also by Andy Stanley. This is a hard lesson to learn, and I'm going to make you uncomfortable right now, because right now what you want is to lose weight. What you want right now is to eat the candy bar. What you want right now is to buy that shiny thing you're looking at, or that, came up as an ad for you. What you want right now is to say yes to that peer pressure, or to that temptation, or to what that person is asking of you. That is probably not what you want most. What you want most is to keep the weight off, to feel in control over food and not have food controlling you. You want to have financial margin. You want to have freedom. You want to think for yourself. You want to have meaningful relationships. You want to leave a legacy. Saying no right now is not a sacrifice. It's an investment. And I'm going to go strictly into my lane here for a second and tell you this. We live in a day and age where eating healthy foods, and Shannon's going to back me up in this, eating healthy foods and exercise, you're called a health nut, you're called obsessive, you're called a person that doesn't know how to have fun. I call BS. Okay. If
Mm-hmm.
you listen to us at all, you know that you can eat any damn food you want to eat. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
balance. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, can you choose to eat 80% minimally processed foods? Right now, can you choose to get enough sleep? Right now, can you choose to drink mostly water? Right now, can you choose to work on your body so that in 10, 20, 15 years, it works for you? These choices may seem like a sacrifice because they go against your immediate desires. But the truth is, you get stronger. Your mind, your body, your emotions, your soul, And that makes all the hard things easier.
Yeah, and it becomes a habit where
Yes.
it's kind of like when you were chatting about taking 6 weeks off from your surgery. It's like you were sleeping less, you were more anxious. I'm sure your body ached maybe a little bit more, because you had the habit of movement and eating well. And I'm sure you still ate quite well, but it's just establishing that habit. And like you said, it's deep in your soul. It's in
Yeah.
your genes, it's in your blood. That's just who you are. And once you get to that point, and you're never really to that point,
Yes.
there is no finish line. But once you start realizing this is who you are, oh my gosh, it feels amazing, and it's powerful, and it's empowering to you to keep going and to others around you as well.
Absolutely. And it's, people like to say, oh, it gets easier with time. And it really doesn't, right? Like when people say, oh, working out is easy for you, that's what you do. Oh, eating healthy is easy for you, that's what you do. It's really not. It's not that it's easier. It's like I said, we get stronger in mind, body, emotion, and soul. You get stronger, and that makes it easier to make certain decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Not because the decisions itself are easier, because you're stronger. And don't fall into the trap of thinking that you're sacrificing. Keep your eye on what you want most, and whatever gets in the way of that, it's just temporary discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my last thoughts is, if you're doing this on your own, I would love to be one of the people that walk with you, that look into the future and help you get there. Because, I've been where you are. Shannon's been where you are after the countless diets, the endless 10-minute solutions, all the frustrations, the tears, the load that seems unbearable. I really do want to help you get through it. So get in touch. There's via email. You can go to my coaching page, contact me on Instagram. All these links are in the information on the podcast. I might not see smoke signals, but you can try to send those anyway.
Are they in
But
Canada?
we want to get you where you want to go, so that you can reach the goals that you have now, but then reach those bigger goals and get to the things that you really, really want, not just the things that you're struggling with right now.
Mm-hmm. And to achieve long-term success.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it's all about. Does it get easier, like you said? Not really. There really is no finish line, but there still is that long-term success behind all of it. It's ending the endless yo-yo cycles. It's not giving into the fad diets or that next magic bean or program that's going to make you happy for the rest of your life because you're finally losing that extra 10 pounds. I mean, you probably aren't having a good time with it. We certainly did when we were in that mindset, but we're 10 steps ahead of you to know that that's not realistic. Here are some strategies, attainable strategies to help you get over that big, big hump and then kind of see the end game.
Yeah. And it's just so important, right? To find that balance, to be able to look forward and to filter things, right? Like that plan, knowing where you want to get, it really helps you filter out a lot of the noise.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of noise out there.
So
Holy smoke. Yeah.
Now, speaking of clearing out the noise, next week, Shannon's going to talk about one strategy for fitness success. So, as always, we like to keep things streamlined and as simple as possible, because we do believe that you don't need to complicate things. You need to master the basics. That's all we do. We found success not by reinventing the wheel, but just by mastering the basics. And Shannon's going to talk about one strategy for fitness success, and you do not want to miss that.